Marriage is hard at the best of times, and now with the pressures of the COVID-19 pandemic, some might find it even more difficult. Today's guest is a marriage coach and a court-appointed mediator. Ron Price is also the author of Play Nice in Your Sandbox at Home: How to Enjoy Peaceful Relationships with the Important People in Your Life. Welcome, Ron. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Oh, Jeanette, the pleasure's mine. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, so Ron, that's an interesting book title. What's the significance of this analogy?
Actually, Jeanette, it's the second book in the series, second of three. In 2016, I came out with Play Nice in Your Sandbox at Work. And in all of my books, the play is an acronym, a four-step model to prevent trivial, insignificant, meaningless things from blowing up on you and becoming a conflict. Can I assume you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I think we all do. Yeah.
Not only were they not a hill to die on, they weren't a hill to get sick on, and yet they're taking over our time, our energy, our lives. So the play is, how do you prevent those from happening at work, at home? And again, in November, I'm coming out with At Church, which is a whole different matter. But how do you prevent conflict? The nice is, how do you resolve conflict? Significant differences that, Jeanette, we're all going to have with other people from time to time. How do you resolve those in a productive manner? So, in the sandbox, I just never grown up, I guess. People ask me, where did I grow up? I say, I'm trying to do it in Farmington, New Mexico. So it's just kind of playful and helping people realize conflict can be prevented at times. It can be resolved when necessary.
And like you said, I mean, whether it's at church or home or at work, we're all human, right? And so we have those interactions daily. And it's a challenge, right? Sometimes.
It's fun though, isn't it? It's fun.
Absolutely. Now, Ron, you're a court-appointed mediator. Can you share what your experience has been with couples who maybe put their kids first above, I guess, their spouse?
Yeah, they end up divorced. That's and I shouldn't be laughing. That's not funny, but it's incredible how many couples have told me, yeah, we put our kids first. We stop focusing on the marriage. Jeanette, if you really want to put your kids first, you get some very good, reliable sitters, or you get other couples with kids the age of your kids, and you trade off so that you're going out on regular dates. You're going out and focusing on the marriage because, number one, that's what your kids, they want to be able to come home after they've left and grown up. They want to bring their kids to your home to see both grandparents together. So you want to put the kids first, you want to focus on the kids, you focus on the marriage.
Interesting. And I'm sure that sets a really good example too for the kids in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. Point.
Now, most people say that finances are the number one reason for divorce, but you say it's something else, that it's failure to cut the apron strings with your own parents. Please explain that.
We come into a marriage, Jeanette, with certain expectations based largely on how things were in our family of origin. That's all we know, so that's how we assume things should be in our new married home. Well, guess what? Your spouse didn't grow up in your home. At least, I hope not. That's a whole nother topic. They have a different set of expectations. And so one of the challenges in marriage is to carve out not yours or mine, but ours. And you've got to leave mom and dad. You can't be running back to them whenever there's a dust up or a disagreement or whatever. The smart in-laws, when they see you coming under those circumstances, are going to slam that door in your face and say, you go back and fix it, then come visit us. Marriage, you've got to become an us. It's just us. I don't want to say against the world because it's not a negative thing, but no, we're putting a hedge of protection. Nobody's going to tell us what to do. They can give advice if they want, that's fine, but we're making our decisions. We're not doing it our parents' way. We're doing it our way. And if you don't do that, boy, you're just setting yourself up for nonstop trouble.
Right. That's a good one. Now, the marriage flame tends to dwindle over time, unfortunately. What's your advice for a marriage that might have grown stale?
Okay. Actually, Jeanette, can I depress your audience for a moment? That that flame that you're talking about, that gaga, euphoric, oh, that lasts 2 years or less.
Oh, wow.
2
That
years
is
or less.
depressing.
Oh, biochemically, it- you cannot sustain that euphoric love. It's supposed to settle in to a more steady, stable, and long-lasting love. And so one of the problems that people fall into is they forget the importance of having fun in their relationship. When they first meet, that's all they're doing. They're having fun. They're doing things, and they say, "Oh, let's do this forever," and they marry, and they still have fun. But over time, and especially when that again the gaga wears off, life becomes raising the kids and paying the bills, or is it paying the kids and raising the bills? Whichever. Fun gets pushed to the wayside, and that's a huge mistake. In fact, in my play nice model, the P stands for play, play, play. You've heard the expression, the family that prays together stays together. Okay,
Sure.
that for the theologians. I'm saying the family that plays together, has regular date nights, just as a couple, and fun nights as a family, is going to experience the joy longer, keep the flame, as you said, burning more brightly.
Right. And doesn't it seem that the common courtesies that we extend to strangers sometimes get missed in our own marriage? Where are some of these and why do we neglect them at times?
You know, Jeanette, how much time do we have? Do we have about 3 hours?
No.
But the point is valid. We're at the grocery store and somebody puts groceries in our bag. We say thank you, and they typically say you're welcome. We say please to people, that total strangers that we don't know, but we neglect that at home. I think we just kind of take people for granted to an extent. And when we ask for something, don't just ask, say please. When somebody does something for you, say thank you. When somebody thanks you, say you're welcome. This is not rocket science. This is not earth shaking. But you know what? Those little things, Jeanette, they do add up over time and help people want to serve more, love more, encourage more. Yeah, remember your P's and T's. I've heard the expression mind your P's and Q's. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the Q's are. Mind your P's and T's, your pleases, your thank yous, your welcomes. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, good advice. Now, in your book, you define marriage as two imperfect people who join together to try to form a perfect union. Can you explain this?
Well, that's what it is, but what's the chances of that, Jeanette? I don't know if you're a betting woman or not, but again, you take two imperfect, hurting individuals who have needs that they're not good at voicing at times. That's a whole nother matter. And they expect the other person to understand and meet those needs nonstop. You're dreaming. You're dreaming. It's not going to happen. Imperfect people cannot create perfect relationships. And especially, as you said in the beginning, under this COVID-19, when we're having more time together, we've got the added stress and the uncertainty and perhaps financial challenges. Yeah, imperfect people, you're going to see the flaws and the faults and the shortcomings in your mate. So if I may, Jeanette, could I cite the L chapter real quickly? I think it fits well here.
Sure.
The L chapter is look for the good. Again, you ask my wife to list Ron's top 10 faults, it might take her 10 seconds, maybe 1 second per fault. You ask her to write down Ron's top 10 good qualities, his positives. Well, depending on the mood, depending if we're in harmony together, it won't take her very long. If we're not in harmony, it might take her a while to think about the good. So force yourself. Look for the good. Look for the good, and your mate, your children, let them know, I really appreciate this about you. Thank you so much. You're going to start seeing more of it, I promise.
That's nice advice. Now, we all know the phrase forgive and forget, of course, but you say that that's unrealistic. Why is that?
Yeah. Jeanette, I don't know about Canada, and I'm looking for an opportunity to say the word oot, because I love the way you folks say oot. In Canada, when you were young, did you hear an expression, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Do you remember what age you found out that was a total lie? Words,
Pretty young.
yeah, words can be very hurtful. Well, another expression we've learned from way back is forgive and forget. Jeanette, we can't do it. Now, you're young enough, this won't be a challenge for you, but I ask people my age to think back to their first or second grade teacher. Let me put you on the spot. Can you recall the name of your first or second grade teacher?
Yeah, I can actually.
When's the
Yeah.
last time you thought of that person?
Um, it's been a little while.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah.
But look how quickly you were able to access
hmm
that information.
Yeah.
Our brains are such, God made our brains in such a way we don't forget anything. We may not be able to recall it when we want to. I promise you that one. But every memory, everything that's ever happened to us is in the emotional part of our brain, and something can trigger a memory to bring it right back to the surface with all the power and the pain and the impact. So to say forgive and forget, I might as well say forgive and eat this building. It's not going to happen. The trick, if you will, the challenge is forgive and move on. Purposely decide, you know what? Nope, I have forgiven that. And if I have thoughts come into my mind, I'm deleting them because I
Right.
have chosen to forgive and move
Yeah.
on.
It's an action, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's a decision and an action. Yes, well put.
So, most of us who are married are either trying or have tried to change our spouse, but you say that this is a waste of energy.
Well, Jeanette, I didn't ask you, but are you married, Jeanette?
I am, yes.
Ever tried to change your spouse?
I think
You don't
everybody's
have.
guilty of it a little bit, right? At
I was going to
times.
say you don't have to answer that. I was I was watching the Today Show. This is probably last century, last millennium. It was a long time ago. And I was just about to shuttle off and go back to work, and they said in our next segment, an animal trainer is going to come on and explain how she used animal training techniques to change her husband. And I said, oh, this is going to be.
Yep.
So I stayed and I watched it. And I can't remember her name. I would give credit if I could. But she said, when we train animals, we look for those behaviors that we like, those behaviors that we want to see more of, and we reward them. We give them food or compliments, praise, what have you. We let them know, yeah, that's good. We see more of it. She said, I started doing that with my husband. She said, when I saw him doing something that I appreciated, I let him know in no uncertain terms, wow, thank you. Man, I like that. Not over the top, come on, but realistic. I appreciate that. And she said, you know what? And he began to change. But then Jeanette, she looked right in the camera and she said, oh, was it I who had changed? And Jeanette,
Probably.
I did a dance in my office. It was her. She changed because when your mate knows you're trying to change them, the walls of defense are going to go right up. You know that. We all know that. So when you stop trying to change and you look for the good and let them know you appreciate it, they'll change on their own, which is far, far better than coercive change.
You mentioned an acronym HALT, HALT. Maybe tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's universal that we are not always at our best. We like to think we are, but we're not. So if you're hungry, and trust me, you're not going to be in total control of your emotions, your thoughts, whatever, because your emphasis is on your appetite at the moment, your stomach. If you're angry, ooh, you're not at your best. You have left your thinking brain, you're in your emotional brain. You got to be careful. If you're feeling lonely or maybe your needs aren't being met, if you're tired, so hungry, angry, lonely, tired, that's I don't say a bad state to be in. We get there from time to time, but it's a horrible state in which to try to communicate with another human being, especially your spouse. Because if you're under that condition, you're tense, you're irritable, you'll take things the wrong way. That's when you need to know the secret of calling a timeout the correct way. Jeanette, did you know there's a right way to call a timeout and a wrong way to call a timeout?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know the secret ingredient there.
Well, may I share it with your audience?
Sure.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd say yes.
Of course.
We have a part of our brain that thinks right in the front, the frontal lobe. It's the command center of the brain, if you will. Our thoughts, reason, logic come from that part of the brain. We also have the limbic system, which is the emotional part of the brain. And what can happen to us as human beings, Jeanette, is we can get so upset about something, so agitated, so irritated, we will leave the thinking part of our brain, get smack dab in that emotional brain, and when that happens, all bets are off. So at that time, you have to call a timeout. You have to announce to the other person, right now, I can't do it. I'm too upset. If we try to talk now, I'm going to say something or do something I don't say or do. Timeout. But Jeanette, here's the key. You've got to announce the time in. In other words, if I say to my wife, timeout, and I storm out, I've made it worse, not better, because I've left her wondering, well, is he coming back? Is he rejecting me? Is he rejecting marriage? She doesn't know. So I need to say one of two things. I need to say, I need a timeout, or I think we need a timeout. How about if we get back together in a half an hour? Pick this up at 2 o'clock. Let's talk about this after dinner. So I'm letting her know I'm rejecting the argument. I'm not rejecting her
That's
or
right.
the marriage. And two real keys, by the way. I can say I need a timeout, or I think I need a timeout. God forbid I ever tell my wife I think you need a timeout. I think
That's not going to go over
I'll
so
find out.
well.
She does. Yeah, no, that won't go over well.
Yeah, no, that is really fantastic advice. Probably something that we can all use, whether we're married or not.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
Thank you for that, Jeanette. If I may, when I wrote "Play Nice in Your Sandbox at Work," people think, well, I don't work, so I don't need that. 100%, 100% of the skills that I teach in the At Work book are applicable. Probably 80% of the At Home book are applicable at work. And probably 50 or 60% of the At Church book, they're relationship skills. They're going to be applicable at home and at work. Because, like I think you said it earlier, relationships are relationships. We got to learn how to get along.
Exactly. Ron, thank you so very much for joining us today. We really enjoyed having you on our show.
Jeanette, I'm just sorry it's come to an end. I've enjoyed it immensely.